Hi, welcome to the channel. I've re-added up the points for my Death Korp of Krieg army in 10th, and it comes to around 9,500 points. I did a video a while back about my army, and since then I've added artillery and tanks, and I'm pleased to see not a lot has gone into legends for my army as well, although combat engineers have just disappeared. But are Krieg's still viable, and I'm thinking the dedicated units that are Krieg specific rather than all the other Ashton Militarum stuff. The Krieg are an iconic regiment and beloved by a lot of people, and part of that is their unique aesthetic and interesting lore. They're known for being siege specialists and gain the reputation for being fearless in the face of certain death, and often feel nothing for self-sacrifice in the discharge of their orders. So Krieg armies are typically infantry heavy, otherwise how else could you sacrifice people? They use horses in a very World War I vibe, although they have augmented fearless horses of course. They focus on artillery, whether field batteries like mortars or siege batteries like EARTHSHAKERs and MEDUSA cannons. And of course they include armour divisions, but more as a supporting role for infantry. Again, there's a World War I vibe to their choices, a multitude of MALCADOR varieties, the more modern Lehman Russ types, the heavier army like MACHARIUS tanks, and of course Baneblades, all backed up by Trojan support vehicles. For transport, a Krieg siege army would more commonly use Gorgon or Centaur transports, but these don't have rules in 40k anymore. But the Hades breaching drill is certainly in use to circumvent trench lines. Let's have a look at Krieg units and whether they work in 10th. Let's start with the Krieg infantry unit first. This is an easy one. I went over this in my winners and losers video recently, and the infantry squad is great. They can take the most amounts of special weapons in any battle line squad. They return models each turn, and as the squad gets injured they get better at shooting, with +1 to hit when less than full strength, and +1 to wound when less than half strength. So I think these are staples in any guard army. The Death Korp of MARSHAL. At 60 points, the perfect addition to the infantry squad. Add a marshal and he brings a 5+ feel no pain for the squad. You can issue one order, which is what's needed, and once per battle you can use the insane bravery strat for free on them too. Auto passing battle shock after you fail could come in clutch, so you can keep objectives and keep issuing orders. The Death Rider Squadron. My biggest disappointment for the Krieg units, the Death Rider Squadron is just pretty meh. Not very good melee, even with its +1 to wound from Lance, as they're only strength 4. They can make a 6-inch move if an enemy moves within 9, but for 14 points per model compared to Rough Riders at 16 points, they aren't really worth it. The Death Rider Squadron Commander is an also include if you're taking Death Riders. He gives them Infiltrate, which is nice for a fast unit. He can order them once, but only gives himself devastating wounds on the charge, which is a shame. I think I'll be using my Death Rider models as Rough Riders. Hades Breaching Drill. I love these coming up with Combat Engineer Squad, but with a 30-point increase to 110 points, that feels a bit steep. Now you can bring any infantry unit, so it could be a 20-man blob, or something more deadly. Let me know in the comments what you bring up with it. Its main focus is still melee and doesn't care what it goes against, whereas it used to be extra good against vehicles. 6 attacks hitting on 4s, strength 9, AP -4 and D6 +2 damage, it's really tasty. The drill doesn't have an invul anymore, but being T9 helps as it's only got a 3+ save. The CYCLOPS Demolition Vehicle, 25 points for a moving mine. It can deal D3 or D6 mortal wounds on a target depending on the role, and it'll also deal an extra mortal wound in deadly demise within 6. Perhaps if you have spare points get one, could be a good way to defend a gun line. The Trojan Support Vehicle, 80 points support vehicle and its shooting doesn't really do anything, but you do get a free hunter killer missile with it now. 10-inch move, T9, 11 wounds, its support will keep up and be durable enough for a good portion of the game. And it's good because it can heal a vehicle D3 wounds per turn and allows it to reroll 1s to hit. Sending this around with any tank will make a difference. Imagine giving Baneblades that reroll. I like them. And now to the really iconic Krieg units. My favourite siege artillery piece now, the EARTHSHAKER Carriage Battery. It's infantry now and orders for that are easier to source, but only one model unit now, it's a shame for order efficiency. Also only 70 points for an EARTHSHAKER cannon, it's the same as the Basilisk, so you can get that great anti-infantry indirect fire. When it hits something, that unit is then -2 to move, advance and charge. They can move now, which is nice and means they can fall back from combat. A Basilisk is 110 points and the only difference is it has a better ballistic skill. This unit hits on 5s, so it's +1 for heavy, -1 for indirect, and the +1 for take aim only gets it back to 4s. A Scout Sentinel can avoid the indirect penalty, an Artillery Commander can give sustained hits 1, 40 points for a +1 ballistic still, unsure how to judge that to be honest. The Medusa Carriage Battery. I was incorrect before, there's actually more that's disappeared from the Krieg line. The Armageddon pattern Medusa, which I have, is no longer around. Instead we have the Carriage Battery. The cannon is down for potential damage from D6 to 3, but that actually makes it more reliable. And D6 shots at strength 10, -3 AP makes it an elite killer. That could also worry vehicles. Also hitting on 5's base, it'll need buffing, but when this cannon hits the unit, it has to take a battle shock test. 65 points is pretty cheap. These indirect artillery pieces are cheap and dish out a lot of firepower. The MALCADOR tank. A variety of options depending on the weaponry, ranging from 235 to 310 points. They're all tier 11, 2+ save, 18 wounds with smoke keyword, so very durable. The standard version has Armour of Contempt for -1 AP to ranged attacks, which makes it even more durable. Other options have Ignores Cover, Overwatch on 5s or Shoot on Death. None of the big cannons have the heavy keyword, so everything hits on 4 base. So there's an extra 5 wounds, -1 AP, and 2 more las cannons worth the 50 points this tank is costing compared to a Lehman Russ. To be honest, I'd probably say it is. Looks and feels Krieg and seems to be quite point sufficient. The MACHARIUS, a big heavy tank. Toughness 13 with a 2+ save and 20 wounds. It's Rogel Dawn price at 285 to 310, but it's actually more durable. The twin cannons give reroll wounds rather than more shots now. And looking at the twin Vanquisher, it's heavy 2, so hits on 3s, unbuff when stationary. The Vanquisher also rerolls hits against monsters and vehicles, which is tasty. Only 1 shot, rerolling everything, strength 18, -4 AP and d6 + 6 damage. It's not going to kill whatever he wants, but will punch a hole in most things. The problem with these tanks is they don't have a lot of other firepower, no las cannons, just heavy bolters or flamers. The Rogel Dawn has a twin cannon, a Gatling 12 shot cannon, 2 melter guns and 2 multi-melters, so less durable but a lot more firepower, even though it's all hitting on 4's base. The Lehman Russ is probably the cheapest way to get a Vanquisher cannon if you really want one. I think I'd still take a twin Vanquisher because it looks so iconic. I don't think the Krieg would ever take a Rogel Dawn tank, even though I have 2 in my army. I think things are in a good place for a truly authentic Krieg army that actually works, and there's tons of other Astra Militarum stuff that you can use as well. I'd love to hear what you think. Why not come a member and join me in Discord as well? And I'll see you soon. Bye.